The last thing you expect to hear as you turn the corner is popping. Any noises made while driving could be a serious warning sign. It's best to identify the underlying problems if you hear popping noises when turning to prevent further damage. In today's video, we're going to talk about a common issue that many drivers face: popping noise when turning. Whether you're driving a car, truck, or SUV, this annoying sound can be caused by a variety of factors. But don't worry, because in this video, we're going to explain what those factors are and show you how to fix the problem. It's the Car Problems YouTube channel. Subscribe and let's get started. Bad strut mount. Your vehicle's mount may have failed if it has a front strut assembly. In order to reduce road shock, the strut assembly is required. The steering system of your car pivots around it as well. A bearing that performs the pivoting is part of the mount. A popping sound will be more noticeable when you are turning if the mount is worn. Additionally, a bad strut may cause tire wear or steering vibrations. Worn or damaged ball joint. The suspension and steering systems include ball joints. The ball joints are joined to the steering knuckle, allowing the steering knuckles to pivot while turning. This system also consists of tie rods, which are in charge of transferring motion from the steering gear to the knuckles. A popping or clunking sound could be heard if one of these components breaks. When you are making a turn or a curve, this noise becomes more noticeable. Bad CV joints. Your vehicle will have constant velocity axles if it is front-wheel drive. These axles use the transaxle to transmit the rotational force from the engine to the front wheels. There are outer and inner CV joints for every CV axle. These joints are in charge of enabling the axle shaft to move up and down when navigating uneven terrain. The front wheel's ability to pivot and turn requires the use of the outer joints. You will hear popping, snapping, or clicking noises when turning and accelerating when the CV joints start to wear. Broken coil spring. A crucial part of the vehicle suspension is the coil spring. These springs are a common feature of automobiles. Although coils have a long lifespan, they are also vulnerable to damage, especially if you travel on unpaved roads. You'll hear a popping sound, as well as knocking or clunking, when the coil spring snaps. It may also result in misalignment, which makes driving difficult to control. The defective springs will further erode the tread on your tires if you ignore them. It's best to get this issue fixed as soon as you can because you don't want to have to replace tires at the same time. Defective struts. Another possibility is that the struts are broken. Together with the spring coils, these components serve as the shock absorber. There is a piston, gas, or liquid inside the strut cylinder. The suspension won't be able to absorb impact in the same way if the strut breaks or becomes stuck. The car won't be harmed, but there will be an odd popping sound coming from the wheels. Worn control arm bushings. The vehicle's frame and suspension are joined by control arms. Bushings are used to join the control arms. When you turn the steering wheel, you will hear a popping, clicking, or snapping sound if the bushings fail. This sound will eventually get worse and might start to squeak. How to fix? It's time to address the issue once you can no longer tolerate the popping sound. You must take the same actions professional mechanics do in order to correctly diagnose and fix the problem. Here are some general steps to follow. Determine which side it's coming from. Consider reading your vehicle's factory service manual before you start. All the diagrams and components that you will be inspecting are shown in this manual. Also described are any suggested practices. You must first identify which side of the car the noise is coming from in order to determine what is happening. Invite a friend along for the ride if it's challenging to determine from inside the car. Occasionally, it is beneficial to listen while navigating turns from various positions inside the vehicle. You two can compare notes and decide on a specific area. Inspect coil springs and strut mount. You need to visually inspect the strut mount and coil springs. Above the axle, close to the wheel, are springs. Broken springs or strut mounts will be much easier to spot if you lift the car. Not all springtime breaks, though, are simple to spot. You may need to look into the matter further if the break occurs in the middle. Inspect suspension and bushings. Next, look for any signs of wear on the boots and bushings. Work at the wheel where you first heard the noise as you look underneath the car. You should get ready to replace the suspension if the bushings start to separate or the suspension looks worn. Don't forget to check the tie rod ends for excessive play. From the power steering box, proceed to the arms, then to the wheels. The link between the wheels and the power steering box is at the tie rod ends. You must replace the bushings if they are damaged. Replace broken parts. Any issue that was discovered during the initial examination needs to be fixed. It is frequently preferable to replace suspension component pairs. Therefore, you might as well replace both coil springs at once if one of them is damaged. Only replacing one spring will alter the vehicle's ride height and balance because the other one is worn. Replace anything that seems worn while you are working on the suspension system. If a spring breaks, for instance, you may want to check the ball joints, bushings, and other essential parts to see if they also need to be replaced. Simply replace the item if it seems like it won't last much longer to be safe. We hope you liked the video. If so, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.